writing guide at Purdue University, accredited school, apparently, tells students to avoid words like mailman and mankind in order to have, quote, non-sexist, non-biased writing. Kathy Aru is founder and publisher of Catalina magazine, and we think she agrees. And she joins us tonight. Kathy, it's great to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
I got to say, there's kind of a basic irony here. I mean, you're lecturing us about sexism while you're sitting right now in Manhattan.
Manhattan. We need to rename the city then. The Big Apple. The Big Apple would be less offensive. So I feel that I'm sitting in the Big Apple, not Manhattan.
Okay, but why stop there? Why should the post office deliver mail?
I know. Well, it's spelled M-A-I-L, so that's okay. If it's M-A-L-E, then there's a problem.
Homonyms count, and this applies to email, too, because it's not about spelling. It's about being gender inclusive, and mail is offensive. We've just learned that. So.
Well, no, I don't think they're including that, but they are saying that society has changed and times are changing, and we don't want to be offensive in our language. And they're trying to be non-sexist and non-biased, and that means trying to take the word man out. So instead of man-made, it would be synthetic. So instead of mailman, it would be mail carrier. So there's many ways to go around it. Instead of humanity, you should say people.
But mail carrier still has mail in it. So you haven't, it's kind of a fake, but that's a Dodge.
So package carrier. Well, we can come up with so many other terms that are less offensive. Yeah.
You might still offend dyslexics. You can change a vowel, but it sounds the same. It has that dreaded word that sends people shrieking for their safe spaces, mail.
Well, they're saying man. Man is the word that they're trying to avoid. They're saying that the word man is associated with adult men as opposed to just humanity or humans. So they're trying to avoid the word man. So if we can eliminate that word, then things would be much better and people would be less offended.
Well, what if you lived in Manchester, Vermont?
Well, they might have to change the name of the city if people agree with Purdue University. And Purdue University found that things need to be updated, and they updated their writing guide to take out these words that apparently are offending certain groups of people.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand the rule, if something offends somebody, even if you've never met that person personally, you have to change it. So doesn't that mean that a small group of super unhappy people get to control what the rest of us say and think?
Well, perhaps they're ahead of their time. Maybe this is something that is offending a small group, but the group's going to get larger, and times are changing, and our language is dynamic. Webster keeps adding new words in the dictionary, so our language needs to change. And a term that used to be non-offensive, like man-made and mailman, now needs to be changed.
Well, I get that. I guess the question for me is who gets to decide what changes and what doesn't. So, for example, I think I've now decided that the most offensive word in the language is college professor.
Oh.
Okay? Because to me that connotes dumbness and misuse of power and tenure, right? And mediocrity. So maybe I'd like to say no one can use that word ever again in my presence because it offends me. Would that fly? Could I do that? Could I pull it off?
Well, if you have a writing guide, perhaps, and you put that out there and people agree with you, then, yeah, maybe that would fly. But Purdue University did find a group that agreed with them, and the university backed them up, and there you have it. They have a writing guide that now is going to teach us how to not offend.
But do you think they have the guts? I mean, it's one thing to bully the little rich kids who go to your school, because, like, what do they know? But do you think they have the guts?
This is the heart of America.
Yeah, no, of course. But if you're paying, like, 60 grand or whatever it is for, like, the fake diploma you get, you know, and you're not working, obviously you have privilege by definition, no matter who's paying for it. But but it's easy to boss them around. Do you think they would have the guts to go to Goldman Sachs in New York and say, change your name now or else?
They probably wouldn't shop there. They probably wouldn't shop there because
what if they were shopping at Goldman Sachs? They might come up short because it's a bank.
Because the name man is adult male, and yeah, we need to change it. Like woman, I mean, has the word man in there, so just call us a person.
So gold person Sachs, would that be better?
I think so. I'm less offended. Yes.
And by the way, what if you just, since the rule is if you spell, and I'll stop with this because I know this is angels on the head of a pin at this point, but if you spelled man differently, like M-A-A, So it was male man, but M-A-A-N.
No,
Would
the
you get past
profession,
the
we know
censors?
that the professions usually were male-dominated, and they've changed. So, no, saying male man and spelling it differently, that doesn't apply. We're trying to say this profession now applies for men and women or persons, all people. No
Wait,
man
but isn't
needed.
there a man?
No man
Hold on.
needed.
Isn't there a man in the word woman?
Call me a person. I'd be less offended. No need for woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the end, the revolution always eats itself, as we often point out. Kathy, thank you for that guided tour of the linear regions. Appreciate it.
I'm never joined now by the author and journalist Kate Welsh. Welcome to the program. Recent free speech rankings survey by Spite said that 94% of UK universities have censored free speech in the past year. Some have no platform, people like Germaine Greer, Roger Scruton, and a human rights activist called Miriam Namazi. Are you happy with that?
I don't believe it's censorship. I believe that freedom of speech is also freedom to accept the consequences of that speech. And if that means that certain institutions don't want to promote or give you a platform to say these things, then you have to accept that.
Really?
Yes, I do.
That's not curtailing freedom of speech.
No, I don't think it is.
Well,
People like Germaine Greer.
But you've just taken away the freedom of these people to speak at the university.
They can speak wherever they like, but freedom of speech is not freedom to be invited wherever you want.
What's the point of a university if you don't allow a variety of views to be expressed?
A variety of views, that's absolutely fine.
Well, clearly not if you're Germaine Greer.
I think if students are being asked to pay increasingly higher fees, and I think that if they object to people like Germaine Greer, Julie Bindel, Milo Yiannopoulos being given frequently pretty hefty speaking fees themselves and being given a platform at their university, then I think they have a right.
Julie Bindel doesn't take fees for that. Julie Bindel does not take fees, and she has worked for 30 years raising awareness of violence against women and done so, you know, thanklessly. And for her to be barred from universities simply because she has a different view to you or some of the people in that university about transgender issues is a disgrace, as it is with Peter Tatchell.
I think...
Hold on.
To say that
Welsh
they're getting money for it, it's absolutely legal.
Kate Welsh.
I think Julie Bindel has done some fantastic things for women's issues. I will not decry that. I do believe that she has frequently incited hatred against transgender people, and that puts...
But she hasn't. She's defended transgendered people. I've heard her do it. She's done it to me. I've spoken to her about it. She's defended transgender people where all she does is cleave to the notion, which is actually a scientific fact, whether you like it or not, which is that someone who has transitioned from a man to a woman is still technically, essentially, if you wish to call it, essentially a man.
The issue is not what is right or wrong here. The issue is, shouldn't you be able to hear the views on both sides of the argument? And you can't if you ban people. I mean, the Lincoln University, a student union, it banned the University Conservative Association from social media because the association had pointed out that the university had a low ranking when it came to free speech. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
I don't think that's on the same par as criticising who's being invited to speak at universities, or to say that a democratically elected student union preferring not to sell papers like the Daily Mail.
But why would you do it at all?
Why are you scared?
I'm not remotely scared.
Well, I know, but isn't a university exactly the place where there should be this cross-fertilisation of ideas, of political opinions, a breadth of informed opinion, of contentious opinion, of things which you might find difficult to accept, and things which I might find difficult to accept? That's what we should have at universities. Surely that's the point of it.
But freedom of speech and freedom of expression for minority groups has traditionally been oppressed or made difficult to access by people who criticise their ability to exist, like Julie Bindel with trans people, Milo Yiannopoulos.
She doesn't criticise their ability to exist.
No, we've been around that.
We've been around that.
The principal at issue here is not the rights or the wrongs of any of these issues. It is that the university, if you're lucky enough to get to one, is one of the few times in your life when you can go along and hear every view under the sun. But in fact, what is happening now is that views are being channeled into a very narrow tunnel. And if you're outside of that with your views, you don't get in.
I think it's a very exciting time to be a student right now. I graduated 10 years ago. We didn't, the the progressive movement that's flowering now was really only in bud then. But I think students are turning around and saying no to bigotry and no to hate speech.
Well, they can go along to meetings and say that.
It's only a minority who are doing that. It's the minority in the students' unions who are doing that. And I speak as someone with a kid who's at university who says, actually, all this rubbish, this idiocy, this politically correct nonsense has no purchase whatsoever amongst a wider student body. It has a purchase only amongst the perennially active, amongst the political groups within there. And don't forget as well,
generally
Andrew,
people from oppressed groups. Please remember that.
Universities
have always been a safe space for straight white men. What we're seeing now is an increase of levelling the playing field for other voices to be heard,
So
and that will mean removing the platform from one person and giving it to somebody else.
City University.
A gay woman, you remove it from a gay woman.
City University in London, which runs a well-known journalism course, voted to ban the Daily Mail, the Sun and the Express. What's the point of that? Nobody, you don't have to read these papers. Why would you ban them?
When you're on a journalism course, that's fabulous.
I think Daily Mail and journalism don't always go hand in hand.
No, that's your view. That's just your view. That doesn't give you the right to vote for banning
their
them.
students from buying it anywhere else. They're saying in this specific
campus, where people are studying journalism. I mean, if you don't like Daily Mail journalism, I perfectly understand that. Journalists should know what, in your view, is bad journalism.
It's a commercial boycott. It's perfectly acceptable.
You have to remember as well, Andrew, that it's not just the students. There was the Adam Smith Institute report recently, which suggested that I think it was 85% of university lecturers tended to the left, were liberals, tended to the left.
Sure, but that's always been the case.
That's regularly always been the case.
Pretty much.
Back in the 60s, they did this comparison. It was something like 60%. So it's still a majority, but nothing like the hegemony within those universities now is all from this sort of left, liberal, censorious, intolerant and authoritarian...
Well, that's your view, I suppose, as well.
Well, yes, I just said it.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of viewpoints, that isn't generally accepted by everyone, that is the view at universities.
Right.
Oh,
well, thank
the left
you.
wing
We need
is.
to move on. Thank you very much.
Guys, is the Women's March in Washington, D.C. There...
There's a lot of beautiful babies here. I'll be back.
What? It's been going on since about 7 in the morning. We've had thousands of people streaming in from all over the country.
I need you to dress a little bit more modestly. You're a little too distracting for the people.
Will you cover me? Thank you. I'm here with comedian Tim Young. I'm Katie Freitas from the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Do vaginas have eyes?
Yes, of course. They're always watching.
This is a pussy hat. Do you think it is kind of stooping to the same level Trump's at, though, to have something like a pussy cap that you're wearing around and not try and rise above his rhetoric?
I don't think so. I think it's about empowerment.
Are you wearing a Republican necklace right now?
No.
Oh,
We won't tell them. We won't tell them.
Thank you.
Are you moving?
Climate, global warming.
Less about the vagina, more about the polar bears. Pussy tsunami.
I saw them open for Nickelback.
Fascist! Fascist! I give you love. Fascist! Fascist!
It's a Donald Trump pinata.
What are you doing here, Jesus?
It's the Maya Angelou quote.
Oh, I'm more Jay-Z. Have we matched on Tinder before? Are you guys on Bumble?
My street name is Mama Jude of Occupy LA, also known as Shut the Up. It's 3 o'clock in the goddamn morning. He hacked WikiLeaks in October of 2012 for the location of the military mass amount of drones and the chemical and the chemtrail exposure. I'm reaching out to anyone that is willing to help me expose what corruption is going on with our government.
Can you tell me about your hat?
It's my pussycat.
Oh, wow, it's long.
She got ears with pockets.
We're gonna go talk to the Bikers for Trump.
You employ so many people at the North Pole. Thank you for your
good
contribution
Lord.
to this.
Don't be telling everybody.
There's nothing worse at a women's rally than the line for the bathroom that's like 35 miles long. You want to play a game?
I do want to play a game.
It's called armpit hair or no armpit hair. I'm going to say no armpit hair.
No armpit hair.
Yeah. You have it, don't you?
It's there. Yeah! We're getting a lot of people to strip for us. Woo! Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Oh, no, that's armpit hair. That counts. Dude took off a shirt for you.
Woo!
I don't like it that I came up with the game and I'm losing at it.
Oh, I'm not playing that game.
So I'm going to say yes for everyone.
That's going to be, yeah, they all have armpit hair.
Pepe!
The meme lord Keck hath come. How long have you been participating in like the cuckold lifestyle?
Your getup, though, is definitely from a time when women had less rights.
Yes. That is true.
Pink sperm. Let it be known that the Daily Caller and Tim Young led the Women's March.
Big D, you watching, man? I like you.
Some radical leftists listening to Michael Moore and taking the fight against President Trump to new heights. A protester yesterday scaling the Statue of Liberty on Independence Day before being captured by police 89 feet in the air. She's part of the anti-Trump Rise and Resist group who were at the monument calling for the abolishment of ICE. Posting on Instagram, quote, "Rise and Resist is at the Statue of Liberty demanding Trump and the GOP hashtag abolish ICE, reunite families now, halt deportations, and end detention as a deterrent." Today, Therese Patricia Okumu pleaded not guilty at her federal court appearance. Afterwards, she addressed the press.
Michelle Obama, our beloved First Lady that I care so much about, said when they go low, we go high, and I went as high as I could.
Here with me now, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the DailyWire.com. Ben, 2 hours she was perched on that statue. What did you think of this stunt?
I mean, it's idiotic. They then had to evacuate the entire island because they decided to do the stunt. The real issue with the stunt is not that someone is pulling a public relations ploy in order to get media attention. People do this sort of thing all the time. The point is this actually productive for her cause? Like, let's say that you were her, you were she, and you thought that you were going to bring attention to this particular cause. Is the best way to do that to climb up on the Statue of Liberty and annoy everyone in the country on the 4th of July?
What's the answer to that question? Did she win over any supporters with this?
No, I mean, the only people who are into this are the people who already support her. But I guess that's where we are in the country at this point, is that everybody's attempting to rev up the base more than they are attempting to win over people in the middle. And that's particularly true for folks on the left who think the louder they scream, the more people they're going to win over. It seems like precisely the opposite is true. It seems the louder they scream, the more people are looking at the Trump administration and saying, well, at least they're not shutting down the Statue of Liberty on the 4th of July.
She was taking advice from Michael Moore, as you just heard him earlier. We have to, in his words, put our bodies on the line to stop Trump. Is this what the far left movement is pushing for at this point?
Well, I mean, there's no question that I think that the heart of the far left is with this particular part of the movement. The Maxine Waters shout people down in gas stations. The let's go to a restaurant and shout Christian Nielsen out of a restaurant. The let's badger Elaine Chao as she comes out of dinner. This is where the left's heart is, and this is the real problem for the Democratic Party, because Schumer and Pelosi are sitting there saying, guys, we're alienating a huge swath of the country, and the hard left is saying, well, you have no heart, you don't have the passion. Well, when the passion is not united with the leadership of the Democratic Party, it's pretty clear who's going to lose, and it's not going to be the passion. The passion is going to win. There's a wild shift to the left that's happening thanks to this far left part of the Democratic Party. It doesn't bode well for them in future election cycles if they continue it, which I suppose is fine with me.
Well, obviously, the 28-year-old Democrat socialist brought a lot of attention to this. The Hill, a piece in The Hill this morning, progressives poised to shape agenda if Dems take back House. Is that the case?
I mean, there's no question that they believe that all of the spirit is with the Bernie Sanders left of the movement. Now, what's really fascinating is that there was sort of a gap between the intersectional left and the Bernie Sanders left. A lot of the people on the intersectional left, people who thought about identity politics and race, they said that Bernie Sanders wasn't paying enough attention to issues of race and sexual orientation and sex, that he was almost too focused on socialism. Ocasio-Cortez is doing a good job of bridging that gap because she is an intersectional candidate. Obviously, she's of minority ethnicity, and she's a woman. And she's also preaching Bernie Sanders socialism, and that's why the party is seeing her as this sort of great uniting figure, even though she is as radical can be.
You know, you wonder if they risk turning off some of their own voters going this far to the left, but it is something that we're watching, and clearly the world was watching as that woman scaled the Statue of Liberty on Independence Day yesterday. Ben